I'm David Kleeman. I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Trends for a British company called Dubit. It's a research and strategy consultancy and a Metaverse studio. Right now, if you ask someone what's the Metaverse, you will get 10 times more answers than you ask people. Everyone has a different concept of what it is. There are some very good descriptions from people like Matthew Ball, who's one of the great strategists of it, who talks about it as persistent and global and always the ability to house huge numbers of people in one place and have them interacting with each other in a way that feels immersive. I try to reduce it, especially when I'm talking to people who make content for children, to the simplest possible idea, which is reducing the friction points, the frustrations that young people feel when they go into digital environments. Reducing the frustrations when they play games, when they try to socialize, when they communicate with each other, when they explore, when they learn. And doing that by making immersive environments, making places where they can explore on their own, where there's not someone constantly telling them what direction to go or telling them what they should be thinking about, but allowing them to make the worlds their own and often to create the worlds that they're playing in. Roblox is a great example that there are tens of millions of games on Roblox. Roblox, the company, makes none of them. They are made by big companies like the one that I work for, but they're also made by individuals, young people. When people ask me what the metaverse looks like now, I often say, you may have heard the expression that the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. The metaverse is here, it's just in pieces. And right now, people who want to use it have to kind of put it together for themselves. So they are playing a game on one platform and communicating on another platform and socializing with their friends on a third one. And they have to kind of improvise to make it all work together. Where we're headed is all of that operating in one place. But right now, I'd say the best approximation is Roblox as a games platform, Minecraft also as a creative platform for young people, Fortnite, where it's kind of a hybrid of a games platform and a creative platform. Those are really the three Web 2 versions of the metaverse. And now this is where my knowledge gets thin, but Web 2 is still controlled by big companies. Minecraft by Microsoft, Roblox by Roblox itself. And they're still making a lot of the decisions about what can and can't go on the platform. We are headed towards something called Web 3, which is where it all becomes distributed and community owned. And that's the idea that you and I could say, we have a common interest in this topic. Let's create a community around that. Let's create a space to gather people, and we can invite them into our space. The other big difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is when I use one of the big platforms right now, like a Roblox, like a Minecraft, I'm giving you my data. I am sharing my information with you, and you get to decide what to do with it. As we move forward to a distributed metaverse, I control my data, and I can give it to you temporarily, but I can always ask for it back, or I can withdraw the permission that you have, or I can share it in different ways. I may even be able to profit from my own data as opposed to somebody else making a profit from it. Figuring out the business models for the metaverse is what we say in the US is above my pay grade. I think there is a lot of hype right now around them. And I think there's been some controversy around some of the platforms where people can make their own content, where those platforms are saying this is a great place to come and make a lot of money. And as with so many platforms, it's a very small number of people who make a lot of money, a few more people who make a little money, and a lot of people who make no money at all. I think we have to be honest about that. When we move from this idea of centralized media, where it's owned by another company and they decide how much to keep for themselves and how much to pay you, when we move from that to one where it's community owned, I think there will be much more equitable models for distributing that money. The world of NFTs, the world of cryptocurrency, is one that I'm just beginning to learn about, and I still feel like we're at the moment in the hype curve, as they call it, where there's going to be a lot of sorting out and a lot of people who are going to lose a lot of money because of the hype around it. The one area where NFTs make sense to me is I've heard of companies that are using them like a Kickstarter, where you ask people to invest in your creative idea because they believe in you. And what you give them in exchange is an image, a digital file, that represents their ownership in a little bit of your company. That you'll share with them the progress you're making, you'll ask them for creative input, and that makes sense to me. Like a Kickstarter, like an investment, as opposed to, I'm going to buy this because it's going to get it's going to make a lot of money for me and I can sell it for millions, and that part makes no sense. I think that the idea of what's coming is that you put forth your idea, and if it's a good enough idea, people will buy into it. That you start with your own stake, where you say, I truly believe in this, and if you believe in this as well, come and join me in it. And we'll all share in both the risk and the profit. I'm giving talks most often to professionals, to media professionals. And what I say is, we get one chance to get this right. Regulators worldwide are watching. They are already beginning to regulate some of the platforms. They are already issuing massive fines for people who violate privacy, violate safety. And if we don't get the metaverse part of it right from the beginning, it will all fail quickly, in part because parents won't trust it, in part because kids won't trust it. Young people right now are very much into authenticity. They are very savvy about their own, they don't always practice what they preach, but they're savvy about their own safety and privacy and in deciding what to keep and what to give away, beyond a certain age at least. And regulators are paying attention. And if we don't make it a safe place right now, then it's all going to fall apart. Now, people will always find ways to get around safety and security. And we're going to need massive numbers of people working in monitoring. We are going to need to figure out whole new ways of verifying identity, which will be one of the key things. If I go on when I'm 12, I need my identity verified so that I can be safe from things that are 13 plus, 18 plus, 21 plus. But when I turn 13, I want that to be smart enough to say, you get a little more privilege right now. And when I turn 18, I want to say, you get a little more right now. So I think we need to develop these smart systems that will verify identity. I've seen some really interesting things being done with facial recognition, where you upload a picture and no one keeps it. It's not stored anywhere. It's just in that moment. Artificial intelligence says, we believe that face to be 14 years old. And they're quite accurate about it. And that allows you to start the process of what privilege to allow to a user. A couple things about using the metaverse to provide reliable information, to avoid fake news. First of all, it has to go well beyond that. We need comprehensive media literacy education across the curriculum from the youngest ages right now. We teach young people to read text, to read print. There is no reason we shouldn't be teaching from the earliest years how to read screens, how to read audio, how to, all the different inputs that come to young people now. I am most interested from a news and information perspective for the metaverse in two of the platforms that are not game platforms necessarily, and that's virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality, I think about from the perspective of the news consumer. We know that there are ways to create empathy for someone's situation by immersing another person in that world. I've been through a VR experience where I looked in what looked like a mirror while I was inside virtual reality, and I saw myself. And then they asked me to kind of duck down and come back up, and when I came back up, I was a black woman. And instantly, things started happening in the virtual space around me that could happen to a black woman, how she was being treated, the racist comments, the ways people looked at her, the ways people interacted with her. And it was very quick that I bought into this and started to feel fear, feel anger, feel anxiety. And the question that we still haven't answered is, when you come out of that, how long does that last? And does it transfer to the real world? But there's some evidence that it does. So in terms of immersing people in someone else's situation, getting them to care, which is the first step in getting them to act, I think virtual reality can be incredibly powerful. Augmented reality, I see as a way of tagging the world with information, so that as I'm walking around the world, my phone maybe, we all carry an augmented reality device in our pockets right now, a smartphone. And as I'm walking around, my phone might tell me something happened here. And I will be able to get an image or text or audio of something important that happened on that spot. How do we help children understand news doesn't happen just far away? News doesn't happen just to other people. News happens in my community. News happens to people I know. News influences how I live my life. And if you can show them very, very substantially the things that happen in their community, in their neighborhood, and get them to participate in that as well, when they know about something that's happened, they can create their own spots for augmented reality. I think that's the way we start to use news for authenticity, or use Metaverse for authenticity. I think young people will be a key part of gathering information, gathering the news around them. They see the world from a different perspective than the older people around them. And if we can start to respect that and look at their ability to create, I think that's the key right now. As we think of young people as consumers of media, more and more they are creators of media. And we need to learn how to incorporate that into what we as adults, what we as decision makers around the world consume, and the perspectives that we take in.